Let's begin. The clink of champagne glasses was supposed to signal celebration. Instead, it detonated my life. It was our wedding anniversary, 32 years of supposed partnership. The restaurant was upscale, humming with quiet elegance, the kind of place where couples lean closer instead of raising voices. Yet, amidst the soft jazz and ambient candlelight, my wife, Angela, raised her glass with a venom-laced smile and declared loudly enough for nearby tables to hear, "You'll never be half the man Carter was." My name is Nathan Hill. I'm 59 years old. I spent my youth building a career, my middle age building a family, and apparently my later years becoming the butt of a private joke I never realized I was a part of. I didn't react. Not immediately. I stared at her, not in shock, but in strategy, because I already knew. She thought the venom in her words would finally break me. But I wasn't there to be broken. I was there to collect my final receipts. Angela laughed as if she'd delivered a punchline. The friends we were dining with, Megan and Blake, once our mutual confidants, shifted awkwardly in their seats. Megan reached for her purse, as if sudden inspiration had struck to escape. Blake started nodding at his watch like a doctor late for surgery. Angela kept drinking. Her wine matched her lipstick, sharp, red, and attention-seeking. She wore that necklace again, the sapphire one Carter gave her in college. She claimed she pawned it during our lean years. I found it last winter in a drawer she thought I'd never open. That was the moment I knew. Not tonight, months ago. I noticed the patterns. The new gym schedule, although she hadn't lost a pound. The sudden work trips to cities she never visited before. The subtle scent of cologne that I never wore lingering on her scarf. She had grown bolder with time. Arrogant, even. What Angela didn't know was that for the last 3 months, I had quietly been downloading her entire digital footprint. I'm not a hacker. I didn't install spyware. But I'm not an idiot either. One mistake from her was all it took. A mis-sent Zelle transaction. A payment for a hotel room labeled, "Thanks for the fireworks, C." When I asked who C was, she laughed and said it was for Caitlin, a friend from her yoga class. But Caitlin was her old college roommate, and she died 2 years ago. That was the day I activated the backup device. An old iPad, still registered to our shared Apple account, quietly synced, entirely legal, and now mirroring her every message, photo, and note. She didn't know that every time she sent a selfie in bed or whispered, "You make me feel alive," to Carter Reynolds, her long-lost quarterback ex-boyfriend, I was watching, recording, preparing. She thought she was powerful. She didn't realize she was leaving evidence. At dinner, I smiled and said, "Thanks for the update," then took a bite of my creme brulee. She rolled her eyes, clearly disappointed by my lack of reaction. She didn't realize that by the time her wine glass hit the table, I had already sent the first file to my attorney. It was titled, "Contingency Protocol, Angela Reynolds Hill, Breach and Disparagement." The trap had already been sprung. She just didn't know it yet. That night, she posted a photo of us at dinner. A blurry shot where I looked like I was mid-yawn. The caption, "This man still thinks I love him. Bless his heart." The comments from her friends poured in, laughs, inside jokes, digital applause. They thought I was the fool. But fools don't build digital case files. Fools don't structure their trust funds with revocable contingencies. Fools don't hold every key to the castle while quietly changing all the locks. Angela laughed in her sleep that night, whispered something about Carter. Meanwhile, I was in my study, forwarding her deleted photos. Yes, even the ones she thought she wiped, to my lawyer. Her betrayal didn't break me. It built me, one detail at a time. And I was about to show her exactly who she underestimated. Angela thought her silence after dinner meant she'd won. She went to bed humming, twirling that old sapphire necklace between her fingers, texting Carter under the covers like a teenager, hiding from curfew. Her phone lit up every few seconds. I didn't need to read it. Not again. I already had. But I couldn't help myself. I opened the sync folder and watched it update in real time. Tonight was delicious. Wish I came home to you instead. Attached, a photo she'd snapped of me, cropped to show my slouch posture, my fork midair, the look of a man oblivious to betrayal. She captioned it. He actually thanked me. It wasn't the infidelity that hurt. It was the mockery, the confidence she had in my weakness. As if I'd never figure it out. As if I was some relic from the past, too slow and soft to see the storm building in plain sight. But the thing about a storm? You don't yell at it. You build a shelter quietly. And that's exactly what I did. By 1:22 a.m., my attorney Miles had responded to the file with a green light, confirming violation of moral and public disparagement clauses. Emergency actions cleared. Proceed. Angela had always bragged about how she lived in the moment, so I made sure her moment ended with nothing left. First, the house. The one she posted Instagram reels about. The front porch she staged like a Pottery Barn set. She thought we co-owned it. But 4 years ago, I'd quietly moved the deed into an LLC under my cousin's name. It was a tax decision, or so she thought. That night, I submitted the final transfer request to reclassify the residence as tenant-occupied. Angela was now a guest in a house she no longer legally touched. Next, the accounts. She loved her black Amex card, loved flashing it to waiters, flaunting our dinner bills to friends, swiping without ever checking balances. What she didn't know, that card was just a mirror. The real account, the one that paid the bills, the vacations, her solo retreats, that was in my name only. The login credentials had changed 6 hours before she sipped that final glass of wine. At 3:01 a.m., I moved $487,000 into an irrevocable family trust, the kind no lawyer can pry open, not without years of litigation. The trust was in my mother's maiden name, Holloway, and designated as a legacy education fund for descendants only. Angela had no children with me. By 3:45 a.m., I was done. The final stroke came at 4:07 a.m. I submitted a confidential dispute to our mortgage lender, citing fraudulent misuse of shared equity. Evidence: screenshots of her funding hotel stays, spa treatments, and Airbnb reservations using joint cards while lying about business trips. The flags were placed. The assets were frozen. Angela woke up the next morning oblivious. She stretched, poured herself cold brew from the fridge, and shouted down the hall, "Nathan, did you pay the Amex?" It declined to the pump. I didn't answer. She tried calling it in. Denied. Then her debit card. Denied. The yelling started at 8:17 a.m. I was still in the study, reviewing the footage she filmed of herself doing yoga, except one of those videos was clearly not at a wellness center. You could see Carter's boots behind the mat, and his reflection in the window. She ran up the stairs in her robe, phone in hand. "Nathan," she snapped. "What the hell is happening?" I looked at her. Calm. Coffee in hand. My voice steady. "You should sit down." "I'm not sitting. Then you'll fall. And I won't catch you." Her mouth opened. Shut. Her eyes darted between my phone and my face. I was going to tell you," she stammered. "It wasn't what it looked like." I turned my phone to her. A screenshot from the night before. "Carter, you were always the better man." I settled. "And I regret it." She gasped. Not in guilt. In shock that I'd seen it. "What are you going to do?" she whispered. I already did. She left. Stormed out. Slammed the door behind her like it still meant something. But outside, her car's GPS was pinged and frozen. Another legal feature I activated last night. She'd call her sister next, maybe Carter. Try to spin a new story. But no one could stop what was coming. By 11:13 a.m., the locks had been changed. By 1:20 p.m., the courier delivered the packet to her sister's condo, where Angela had fled. Inside, official trust dissolution, property transfer confirmations, a printed screenshot of her messages, and one simple line I hand-wrote at the bottom. This wasn't about Carter. It was about you forgetting who I was. By 2:04 p.m., she had stopped laughing. Angela always thought she could cry her way out of consequences. She had perfected the art of weaponized emotion. A single tear at the right moment, the crack in her voice, the trembling lower lip. It worked on Carter back in college. It worked on her father when she wrecked her first car. And for years, it worked on me. But not anymore. By the time Angela reached her sister's townhouse, her mascara smeared and her heels kicked off in the car, her world was already shrinking. Her black card had been declined at the gas station, the boutique, and even the pharmacy when she tried to buy headache medicine. Her sister, Tina, greeted her at the door with confusion instead of sympathy. "What happened?" Tina asked. "Why are you here in sweats?" Angela waved her off. "It's Nathan. He's pulling something ridiculous." "You mean your husband of 3 decades?" Angela flopped onto the couch and pulled out her phone. She tried logging into the bank account again. Still locked. She tried accessing the mortgage dashboard. Login denied. She tried the house security app. Error. Then came the knock on the door. A courier, expressionless, handed her an envelope with a digital signature pad. She scribbled her name, still distracted, still thinking this was something fixable. It wasn't. Inside the envelope were 3 things. A signed declaration of property, reassignment. A legal clause highlighting her violation of the prenuptial agreement. A still frame from one of her text messages. He's pathetic. He still thinks I love him. The words stared back at her, printed in cold black ink, her own betrayal now immortalized in legal evidence. Angela didn't speak for several minutes. Tina tried to read over her shoulder, but Angela folded the paper quickly. Is this real? Tina asked, her voice softer now. Angela stood up, pacing. He's bluffing. He wouldn't dare take this public. She was wrong. Again. That evening, she drove back to the house. She didn't tell Tina why. She didn't tell anyone. She just needed to see it, to feel that everything wasn't truly gone. She pulled into the driveway at 6:12 p.m., tires crunching over familiar gravel. The porch light wasn't on. The flower beds looked slightly neater than usual. The keypad to the front door blinked red. She tried her old code. Invalid. She pressed harder, faster, as if urgency would somehow override security. The side entrance was locked. The back door, the one she used to prop open for fresh air yoga mornings, was now reinforced. She circled to the front again and pressed her face against the window. The dining table was gone. So was the runner she bought from that overpriced designer. Gone with the wine rack, the scented candles, and the framed photo of our wedding day. In their place was a glass table, minimal decor, and a new welcome mat that read, Live Bravely. Then she saw the shoes. A small pair of black flats, size 7, neatly aligned next to the door. Not hers. Not mine. Angela's breath caught in her throat. She banged her fist against the window. Open the door, she shouted. Nathan. But there was no answer. Across the street, Mr. Lanson, the elderly neighbor who trimmed his hedges every morning at 6 a.m. without fail, stood on his porch holding his coffee. I thought you moved out, he called. Angela turned, startled. Excuse me. That woman, your niece? She moved in last week, right? Said she was the new tenant. Angela's jaw dropped. Tenant. Lanson nodded. Said she signed a 12-month lease. Nice young lady. Angela backed away slowly, her fingers trembling as she pulled out her phone. She called me again. Straight to voicemail. She sent a text. What's going on? Who's in our house? Did you rent it? Sell it? This isn't funny, Nathan. She sat in her car for a long time, waiting for a reply that never came. The world she thought she controlled was vanishing right before her eyes, and the man she mocked was now the one holding all the keys. At 10:03 the next morning, she walked into the downtown law office listed on the confidential mediation letter. Her posture was rigid, her sunglasses too big, her expression an imitation of control. She didn't greet the receptionist. She declined water. She didn't even sit in the waiting room. When she was finally called in, the screen in the conference room was already playing. Video from the restaurant. Her voice loud and clear. You'll never be half the man Carter was. She winced. Seriously? You're using video now? The lawyer across from her was quiet. He pressed a button. The screen changed. Security footage from a hotel. Angela and Carter, clearly affectionate, checking in together. Another clip. A cabin porch. Carter's arm around her waist. Angela, barefoot and laughing in his lap. Angela stood abruptly. This is a violation of privacy. The lawyer didn't flinch. Everything was obtained legally. Bank records. GPS, tracking from your shared insurance app. Your text messages, synced through the backup device you registered under his Apple ID. Angela froze. She had forgotten about the iPad. The lawyer opened a folder. You publicly disparaged your husband. You used marital funds to conduct an extramarital affair. And you breached multiple clauses in your prenup. Angela was still standing. The lawyer added, the clause you assumed expired actually didn't. It was recertified during your third refinancing request. It is active. He pushed a pen across the table. Sign here. You'll retain your car, your personal items, and a one-time severance of $35,000 from the family trust. You waive all claims to the house, all shared funds, and agree to a private dissolution. Angela's fingers shook as she picked up the pen. Does he really want to go public with this? She whispered. The lawyer's expression didn't change. He's not trying to ruin your reputation, Ms. Hill. He's just choosing not to protect it anymore. And in that cold, clinical room, Angela realized there would be no redemption arc, no final tearful monologue, no audience for her apology. She had lost. Not loudly, but completely. Angela signed. She told herself it was temporary, that she'd call a better lawyer, that somehow Nathan would blink. But inside, she knew. It was done. She left the law office in a fog. The midday sun felt too bright. The people around her looked like strangers. She pulled her sunglasses down, not for style, just to hide the redness in her eyes. At her sister's house, she collapsed onto the couch and opened her phone. No new messages. No missed calls. Not from Nathan. Not from Carter either. Her hands trembled as she opened Instagram. Gone were the old posts. Nathan had taken down every trace of her from his profile. Their anniversary trip. Their beach photo. Even the one from their last New Year's Eve, where she wore red and smiled like her life was perfect. She scrolled further and found a post. A simple one. Just a photo of coffee and a window view. Caption. Peace isn't found in people. It's found in the space you reclaim. No name tagged. No details. But she knew it was about her. She texted him. Nathan, can we just talk? One real conversation. No reply. A day passed. Then two. By the third, she tried calling Carter. Voicemail. He didn't call back. Angela sat on the edge of her sister's guest bed that night, replaying everything. She thought about the messages she sent, the laughs, the smugness. None of it felt powerful now. It felt pathetic. She tried logging into the bank account one more time. Denied. The only thing left in her name was the car. And even that, she realized, was paid off using joint funds, now flagged. The next morning, a package arrived at Tina's doorstep. No sender listed, just her name, printed in perfect serif font. Inside, a printed email thread between Nathan and the bank. The filing confirming the irrevocable trust's activation. And a short note. Typed. There was never a need to raise my voice. I had every word I needed already written down. Angela sat back, the letter in her lap, her throat dry. She had tried to humiliate him publicly. He didn't respond. He restructured, and he removed her without a fight. Tina peeked into the room. Are you okay? Angela shook her head slowly. No, she whispered. I don't think I am. It had been 10 days. 10 days of silence. 10 days of rejection. 10 days where Angela went from furious to confused, and finally, to hollow. The court documents had all been delivered. The mediation agreement was finalized. The house was no longer hers. Her accounts were empty. Her social circle had gone quiet. Even Carter had stopped replying. Whatever fantasy she thought they were building had crumbled the moment the money stopped flowing. He never loved her. He loved the thrill, the game, the drama. And now that it was gone, so was he. Angela texted Nathan again that morning. Please, just meet me once. She didn't expect a yes. But an hour later, her phone buzzed. 3 p.m., Harding Cafe. One conversation. That's all. She got there early. Fixed her hair. Applied makeup carefully. Not too heavy, just enough to show effort. She wore the same blouse from the night of their anniversary dinner, trying to trigger a memory. When Nathan walked in, she barely recognized him. Not because he looked different, he didn't, but because of how he carried himself. Taller, calmer, free. He didn't smile. He just sat down across from her, black coffee in hand. Angela opened her mouth to speak, but he beat her to it. You asked for one conversation, so speak. She took a deep breath. I never thought you'd actually go through with it. I know, he said flatly. I was angry, Nathan. I was trying to feel something again. We were stagnant. He nodded once. And so you chose betrayal. Angela's voice cracked. I didn't expect it to go that far. I didn't expect to lose everything. No, Nathan said. You expected me to stay. She looked down at her hands, twisting her ring finger. Empty. He placed a small envelope on the table. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a printed photo. A candid shot of Angela from years ago. Barefoot in the kitchen, holding a cup of coffee, smiling without posing. Happy. Real. She looked at Nathan, confused. That was the last time I felt like you saw me, he said. Angela blinked fast. Then why keep the photo? He stood up. Because I needed to remember who I loved, before you became someone else. She reached for his arm. Nathan, wait. Please. Is this really it? He looked at her calm. Not angry. Not smug. Just finished. You didn't lose everything, Angela. You gave it away. And with that, he walked out. No final words. No second glances. Angela remained seated, the picture trembling in her hand, the coffee cooling in front of her, untouched. She had come hoping for a pause, maybe a chance. But what she got was the ending. Clean, cold, complete. And for the first time, she realized the scariest kind of revenge was the one that didn't need to raise its voice.